Young wife, I still living, and I don't correspond anymore. She's 10 years older than I am. She was born February 13 like me, but she was 10 years older, and she's 96 now. Her husband died, but that we kept friends for all these years. So they were not really friends to go out with, because she was already married and then had a baby and then had a second baby, but they were good friends, you know. And he actually, Armando was in this country, spoke very well English and worked for an English company in Madrid. Anyway, that was the convent, and we did go to that, and then we finally got Ramon de la Cruz, another apartment which was just for us. And we were there till 1947. I went to an academy again for about 2 years for English and French. Not a regular school, because by then, you know, you didn't have to go to school till you were 14, 16 or something. It wasn't, you know. So I went to French and English, mostly English, but English from England, you know. So I spoke. Not anymore now. As a matter of fact, I have to tell you that my older daughter, she's 65, she's going to be 66, when she was in kindergarten, I went to a teacher's conference, and the teachers looked at me and she said, "Why don't you have an accent?" I was teaching her English. You know what an accent I had when she was 5 years in this country, 6 years in the country. But anyway, 1947, we got all the papers to come. We had a sponsor, that we were not a burden to the government here, you know, and all that stuff. We had to have stuff. We went to Cadiz, from Madrid to Cadiz, down in the south, Marqués de Comilla, a ship which was fine, was right there 10 days. We were in New York, and a Jewish organization picked us up there. America, what? Something, you know, I've written down everything, I don't look at anything. Because I know. And United Service for New Americans, now I remember. And there was full of refugees again, the hotel, full of people. It was actually very sad, because there were a lot of young people like me, 18 years old, who were looking for parents, who were looking for, you know, it was pretty sad there. And my husband was working there already. That's where I met my husband. They had for young people a bigger room than this, where they had music and we could dance, you know, dance. We danced in Spain also, all the American music, 1940. Not what you guys do now, but 1940 dances. But anyway, we're dancing. My husband was dancing with me and asked my father if he can take me out to a movies. My father said, "At night to a movies? No way. In Spain, you need a chaperone. You don't go out to the movies." He asked him twice in French. He used to speak French with him. My husband spoke perfect French. My father spoke perfect French. And finally, he did let me go out with them. At 12 o'clock at night, my father was in the lobby of the hotel waiting for me. 1 year later, I got married. I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren now. So I do belong. 1952, as I said, I became a citizen. And finally, I wasn't stateless, because I was really stateless all the time. I was in my mother's passport. There was a child that was the name in my mother's passport that time. And after the passport expired, we just had a resident, but we really didn't belong. So the happiest time for me when I became an American citizen, I'm very proud. You know, when I went back to Europe 10, 15 years later, and I came back with an American passport, and the customs said, "Welcome home." You know that feeling of belonging someplace? It was great. It was very good. And when it comes to religion, the first 2 years I married my husband with a judge, because after the Holocaust, my husband said there is no God. And I called all the family, didn't want to know anything about religion. And so we married with a judge. And when my second child was born, I even had Christmas trees and everything. I like that. You know, I like Christmas trees. I wish I could have a number, I can't. But anyway, especially now, I live with an Orthodox daughter. But anyway, I went through all the religions, believe me. I know the Sancta Maria Mater Dei, Ora pro nobis, I know the whole thing. As a matter of fact, another thing I did. I was in a synagogue during a service, and in Spain, when it thunders, you say, Jesus, José María, es la salvación del alma mía. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, be the salvation of my soul. Right? Well, I say that in the synagogue, and I speak loud. You know, I don't speak too low, and my husband, wrong pew. Go ahead. You know, you say something, like when a funeral, you always, in the street, you don't know, but your funeral, you do something. Religion is part of, it's right there all the time. It's not just, going to church on a Sunday, it was every day. Anything happened. Oh, another thing happened to me. Math, I was terrible in math, very bad. But I was praying for this saint, I forgot the name of the saint, and I was praying, I made a novena and everything. I said, I'm going to do all this stuff. I should go through the test. Well, I didn't go through the test. So I told the nun, I said, I'm praying a novena and this. You should have studied, she said. Probably I was praying a lot, thinking that God is going to take care of me. That's another thing. Anyway, I have my children. I have a very good life. I was married 65 years. My husband just died 2014, February. He was very sick. He was 91 years old already. We had a very good marriage. I never worked, regular work. I was a teacher's aide, which didn't get paid that time because I speak Spanish. And I wanted to help the children. First I was a volunteer, then all of a sudden we got $4.50, something like this. I have a pension from the teachers in New York. They give me now, it's $83.50 a month. That's my pension. But anyway, I didn't, as I said, and then I think about 2004, yeah, 2004, my religious daughter said, Ma, you have to get married with a rabbi. I don't know what's going to happen. So I told my husband, we have to get married. He said, what, are you crazy? I said, no, let's get married. We'll have a party. We have the children, the grandchildren. We'll have fun. So we did it. The rabbi, and when the rabbi asked, do you want to take this, woman who did that, he said, do I have a choice? That was my husband. Well, anyway, I had a good life, and that's it. I thank you very much. If anybody has any questions, I'm open. I hope I didn't take too much time.
No.
Maybe I speak too fast.
No.
But anyway, I still want to tell you that I was really safe because of the church. My family was saved. With a cross around me. Actually, I even stayed a Christian till 1947, 48, till I came to this country. Because it was safe. My father was very a thing about being safe. He wasn't religious. He believed in God, but you have to be safe. You have to live. So this was my story. Anybody has any questions? That's it. I'm done. Bye.
Wait.
No, I'm kidding.
Did you see any of the overt Nazi abuses?
Not really, no. I mean, looking at it, I saw the people coming and telling stories. Mm-hmm. That's all. I saw in Spain, actually, I did see some Nazis and some Gestapo walking. But what happened is I was a child. And, I saw Franco in the parade. Franco was fine with me. I thought Mussolini was fine with me. I was Duce, I was singing the songs, and Franco, the pictures. You went with the politics because, again, it was safe. And my parents said fine, it was fine. But I cannot see too much of pictures of what happened. I know from my husband, because I went with my husband many times to his speeches. And he was in 4 concentration camps, and he was beaten, and he was abused, and it was all kind of things happened to him. His mother was killed, and so I went with him because not all the time, but in the last years he was forgetting a couple of things, and I was a prompter. I just have to say Magdeburg, like that was the one of the concentration camps. One was the ghetto in Riga, Latvia. His parents were in Latvia. He was in Germany, in Berlin, 1938. The school threw him out, And they went to Riga where the parents were. He was born in Berlin, the parents went from Riga, they went from Russia to Berlin when he was born there with a revolution, whatever. But he went back to Riga thinking they're gonna be safe with all the furniture and everything. 1941, the Germans came in and took all the Jews to a ghetto. They made the worst part of the town, put, you know, fences and gallows and whatever it is. And then that's where they had a big ravine, a rumbola, they called it, a big ravine where they shot all the people, the women, the men. They had to take all the clothes off. His mother was one of them. His mother was 40 years old. And I know that from my husband. And then he went to Kaiserwald, and then we went to Stutthof. Stutthof was worse than Auschwitz. Stutthof was at crematoriums, and everything was very bad and made you suffer terrible, but thank God he was only there 2 weeks, because all kind of civilians came in and wanted workers for an ammunition factory, slave labor workers. And they made Ernest and so many, I don't know, many people, disrobe naked to see if you're strong enough to work. And they were, and at 2 or 3 days on the train, they got to Magdeburg. And he was in a factory for a year until 1945. The Americans saved him. The Americans came into the factory, from the camp there to go to the factory. And they came to the factory, and after all kind of problems in that factory, Ernest, all of a sudden a big, what was it, Air Force came and bombs all over the place, and all the Germans were running away. So my husband was with 3 or 4 friends in the middle of this courtyard, and he saw an American coming in with, a Jeep and dirty and big gloves, he said. He was 75 pounds by then. He was 23 years old. And he came over to Ernest and he said, "You are free now." There was the tears in his eyes when he heard that, And actually the American said to him, Ernest said, "I'm a Jew, I'm a slave worker here." And so the American spoke Yiddish to him. He was a Jewish soldier, and he gave him a little prayer book and a mezuzah, a little thing we have in the walls, as like for the soldiers, something. But he never asked for the name. And he said right after he was free, they stayed in the camp, they stayed in the factory, and then they went out, and they were, right away the Germans put tables with a lot of bread out. And but you had to have coupons. So Ernest was, 75, and look at the bread, you couldn't get a bread from a German. So this American soldier, 6 foot tall, big hands, he said, "What's the matter, kid?" So Ernest said, Ernest spoke English already, French, English. He said, "I would like to have a little bread, but I don't have coupons." "You want coupons?" They had a basket of coupons. The guy gave him coupons, the German wouldn't say anything. Got his bread. All right, forget, that's my husband's story. Sorry. Go ahead, monsieur. Do you have anything else to tell me?
No, tell us about
my
your
husband's story. Well, anyway, he came to this country, we got married, and lived happily ever after. He took care of me, but I was satisfied with everything I had. We just got married. I think we had nothing. We were also in a hotel in one room. And I had to send them around the corner to a store to buy 2 dishes and 2 forks and 2 knives and stuff like that. And little by little, we got better. That time he was making $45 a week. But that time, eggs were like, 10 cents for. But anyway, we made it little by little, and I was very satisfied. And something I have to tell every young person, to have a good time, to enjoy yourself. It's very good to work, wonderful. You work and you do, but have a good time. Go on vacation, go one day on a walk in a park, go anything to make you feel good, because life was very fast and you don't know what's, pardon, I'm not even looking at you. You are all the way,
okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But anyway, that's another thing I can get in my mind. Anything else? Any questions?
No?
Anything about the convents? Anything about religion? I can tell you about religion. Remember, I was in a convent for a long time. They had catechism and everything. I learned the history of the church. Oh gosh, all the killings and the murders and the Rome and the gladiators. And no, you should know what happened there. That was another story. But you remember stuff like that. I hope I express myself all right, because my expression is not to, if I hear myself, I don't want to hear myself. I said, I know you are taping, but I sound like a refugee to me, like coming from wherever.
Ask questions.
Anything?
Right?
Ask, just speak a little loud. I do down here to go. I have things, but you have to speak loud. Any? Nadie? Nadie habla?
Right.
Español, en inglés, Italiano, Alemán, anything you want to.
I have a question.
My parents always spoke German to us in the house. And I spoke Spanish to them, I spoke Italian, I understood everything. So when I was in 1932 or 3, my husband went back to the school that they threw him out in 1938. The same school invited him. I was talking about they paid for everything, the flight, the hotel, and everything. They invited him, and he said the commencement exercise for the school, 2 or 3. The commencement exercise for the year of 2 or 3. All these seniors, he told them their story in perfect German, and the principal gave them a bottle of champagne, flowers, television, the whole thing. And I was sitting in a room like this, the food and all the stuff, and teachers came over to me and said, "C'est schön, alles ist gut." All of a sudden, I'm speaking German. My husband was close to me, said, "You speak German?" I said, "I didn't know." But the only thing is, I think it's in the back of my, I can go to Germany and speak. A terrible accent too, probably. But I can speak. I cannot write though, because I never went to school for German. I can read a little. Little by little, I can read. Not the thing, not the Gothic stuff, the Italic stuff, but I can read. But so I didn't know I speak German.
How did he escape from the concentration camps?
Ernest?
Yes.
Ernest didn't escape. He was liberated.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. Ernest, well, my husband was
liberated.
Yeah.
He said
He
that.
was
I was thinking of
liberated
what
by the
you had said
Americans.
before. Right. I was thinking of what you had
They
said.
came, actually, what happens, I'm going to tell you what really happens. They were closing the camp, and there were no more horses, because I think they ate the horses, the Germans. And they put all the German suitcases in big carts, and the Jews were pushing those carts. And when from the camp, and when they passed their factory, all of a sudden there was a big air raid. And the Germans were running, so my husband and 3 went to the factory, ran to the factory, was hidden. They found him a day later, brought him down, put him in a courtyard, hands up, all kind of young people there, and buses were coming, blue buses, he said. He doesn't like blue buses. Came and took so many away, and they came back empty. I mean, they were shot, these people. And he was sure that was the end. But again, a huge air raid, and they took these people and put them in a cellar-like, with a thick door, with a big clock, and they said they'll come later or something like that. But all of a sudden, my husband leaned against the door, and the door opened up. Now, he doesn't know if the guard was an old man, very old that time, and he told them when they were in, "I didn't do anything, I'm still sorry for you." I didn't know if the guard opened it up, of the bombs, what do you call it? The pressure from the things that opened up the door. So again, they went out, and they were hidden someplace in an elevator shaft or whatever. They changed their clothes. They went to a place where the Germans had working clothes, and they changed their striped clothes, put a belt on, and then all of a sudden they go back, and then another day, and then nothing. No noise, no nothing. So one guy went out to find out, reconator, whatever you call it, went out to see what's happening. He came back with a big pot of soup. We are free now, there's nobody there. So then Ernest went out and the soldier came and said, you're free now. So that was the freedom from Ernest. And he didn't want to stay in Germany. Actually, first he didn't want to stay in Germany. They were actually sending all these people to wherever they were born. He didn't want to go to Latvia and to Riga because nobody was there. So he wanted to go. He said he was a French citizen. He wasn't. So he spoke, Monsieur parle français très bien, wherever. And he went to Belgium, and a train to Belgium. And 2 years later, he was in Belgium, and then, adios, goodbye, thank you for listening. And 2 years later, he found a soldier, an American soldier, and he said that he wanted to go to America. He's trying to get papers, and he said, I have an uncle in America. And he told them in the Bronx, he told them the address, and the American said, I'm going home tomorrow, I'm going to look for him. And he really did. And then he got in touch with my husband, and they brought him over to the United States. That's the way my husband actually came here. So all kind of little stories like that we have. I hope I'm not boring you, and I hope I'm not talking too much.
That's why you're here, to talk.
Yeah. It's not so much a question, but a statement.
Okay.
And I find it just incredibly fascinating. This love of parents to do everything they must do to save the family and go on this incredible journey. I'm listening to all the movements that you can recall since the age of about 10, and I've lost track of the number of times you have moved, or that your parents have done everything they could to make the family survive, that I find fascinating.
That was his mission, my father, to keep us safe.
I find it
was his mission.
fascinating.
I remember seeing him walking back and forth and talking to himself, kind of nervous, every time he had to make a trip or thing.
Planning.
Suitcases under the bed all the time we had. I'm not having any suitcases under my bed, it was too dusty. But really, it's a mission they had, his mission, and unfortunately he was here 1 year and he died. He had a tumor in the brain, which now probably was nothing, and he died though, but he accomplished his mission to bring his family to freedom.
Well, an incredible father.
That's a lie. I envy, the only things I never envy anybody. I don't care how much money you have, stuff. I envy people which have families, a lot of families. Thank God now I have my family, but I didn't have anybody. We were two alone, and then we had 2 children, then 3 children, but we still were alone, And you missed, you were sick and you could have used a mother, or you could use, my parents survived, but they died early. And you could have used somebody to come and help a little, or even a holiday. I made a big thing out of, about Thanksgiving. Are you kidding? We even had, we were dressed like pilgrims and said to the children, welcome. And one of the little granddaughter, which now she's a PhD, excuse me, she's very, very smart granddaughter. I have 2 sons. I was so thrilled with her PhD. Anyway, she came dressed as an Indian, and all that stuff like that I was doing. So, but I'm very lucky, very, very lucky. So I said, I don't envy, I just envy family. And I want you to realize is the freedom you people had when you have and had when you have school reunions, which I don't have any school reunions because I don't know who's who anymore. But little things like that sometimes, it's not that I was smiling all the time. But again, as a child, you have imagination. God gives you imagination. And you make believe you are not in a convent, you make believe you are not in this little rooming house. You go to sleep thinking of, I used to say I go into my own shell, I used to say, when I was unhappy, even when I was an adult. Even married sometimes, when I was unhappy, I went into my own shell. Maybe I'm a little crazy, what to do there?
I just had a question for you. So your parents really weren't practicing Jewish, but when you got married, how was that experience again when you got married in the Jewish faith? Even though you had kind of lived.
Well, my parents were not alive anymore. No, but, well, I
Or was
forgot
it
to,
more for your
yeah,
husband?
I forgot to tell you, when I think my daughter was 2 years old, and I had already 2.5, I had already a little baby, and my husband came to me that time and said, I owe it to my parents who died, who were killed, to raise the children Jewish. I went to a store, the Jewish homemaker, I still have it, and I learned everything. A little bit of Hebrew, not as much as everybody else, but if you ask me, we are all the same. We are all praying to the same God, and don't say that we are not, because we are all the same, and the commandments are the same, and what we have to do is take care of each other. And make sure that, to do as many mitzvahs, good deeds, to help people if you can, feed them or whatever. Some people are, the only thing I also see, the Americans are very Puritans, I call them. They don't open up. You have to bring them out the Spaniards are not. They smile. You see, I know exactly, even if they don't look like, I know who's a Spaniard, they smile. They always, smiling. But Americans, they are very good. They are wonderful people. They help you. But you have to bring them out a little. I had a Spanish friend who came from Spain visiting, and she told me, so what happened? Nobody speaks here to anybody in the elevator in New York. She was, But anyway, that's a little thing I saw. But there are good people and bad people all over the world, unfortunately. Now we are really a lot of problems in this world. But I'm not a politician, so don't ask me about politics. I like Franco and I like Mussolini, but we're not good anyway. So, but what do I know, That's politics, I call it, that's it. And just enjoy life and take every day. Anybody, Monsieur, anything?
I'm wondering, I read some of these articles and books, and there's debates like you had started off with about, and you don't have to talk about politics if you're finished with, and about Pope Pius and whatnot. And then I hear your story.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, have you ever been in a setting where you've been at a conference and somebody gets up and tells the negative side,
The negative side.
and then you say, hold on, I want to tell you has that happened to you?
Well, yes, I was in a few things like that where they said, well, the Pope didn't talk, didn't say anything. That's all what they said. In other words, he didn't say help or nothing like that. And he could have helped, he could have saved some people and stuff like that. And I did get up. I said, I'm sorry, but I have a different, I'm a witness that the Pope did help. And everybody was shocked, naturally. They probably didn't like to hear that, but it's just too bad. I had to tell my story, which I know is true. I said the Pope did help. I'm here, and I have a family, and I have the children, grandchildren, great-children only because the Pope did help, because he kept us alive by helping us from the convent, from Vatican to the convent, to Spain. And they all helped. They paid for everything also. It's not that we paid. They paid for the plane. They paid. I know that later on my parents said, because I know whether my parents had money to go on a plane to Spain that time. Monsignor or something. My father knew all those names. The officers right in the Vatican. They were right across. As a matter of fact, my father was not that much schooling, but he loved music and loved art. And he said, we have to go into St. Peter's Inn. I have to show you. So we ran through the columns, which is quite a nice walk. We went in, the Pietà. I mean, I never saw it, I was that big, so the Pietà was huge. All that marble and thin, and the Raphael, the wall hangings, and the tapestry, and that's really beautiful. Anybody went to St. Peter's? So then you know about it. All the, every thing. As a matter of fact, I was back in Rome with my husband, so 2000 something, and I went to the Vatican, and unfortunately we were in a tour at that time in Rome. And I took even a picture of the building of the convent is still there, and I went into a gift shop. Everybody goes to gift shops. And not that gift shop, but another gift shop, someplace, and they were selling a lot of medals and rosaries, beauty rosaries. And one of them, which I thought it was the greatest, it was made out of rose wood, real wood from roses, and it smelled like roses. And I have 2 or 3 Italian Christian friends where I bought those 3 rosaries, and they thought, and I just asked somebody, and that was like 20 years ago. He said they still smell, the rose smells beautiful. So that was a good buy. I went to, you get all these religious things they sell. Well, everybody's to make money after all, no matter what. But and another thing, we went to we were there in the Jubilee. Yeah, 25 years. We were in the Vatican actually, and there was a door where you can come in, go in or out or something, they said, and all your sins are gone.
Oh, yeah.
So